Did you start us?
Mm-hmm.
You did, okay. Oh, I don't remember how to like make my view the way I want it. Do you want to give it to like 6:35?
Yeah. Hi, everybody who's already joined. Thanks for coming out tonight from the comfort of your home. We are going to wait a couple of more minutes to let folks join the webinar, and then we'll get started around 6:35.
Okay, it's 6:35, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the College Application Question and Answer webinar. My name is Audrey Zadingat, and I have students with the last names Q through S. And I'm here with Ms. Bell, who has students with the last names M through P. Also behind the scenes, we have Ms. Pacheco, Ms. Tuig, Ms. Perry, and Michael Helms, who round out the rest of the alphabet. So to start with, I'm going to ask you all to refrain from using the chat right now. And if you do have questions, please go ahead and use the question and answer feature on the webinar. We will get to that towards after we finish like the first half of this, but please don't type your question in the chat. We're not going to be able to get to all of them that way. Okay, so welcome. Tonight is October 13th, 2020. And then tonight's agenda, we're gonna go over typical frequently asked questions that we get from students and parents. So it'll be somewhat of a presentation. We're gonna answer your questions provided through the question and answer feature of Zoom. And then questions submitted will be answered both verbally, like by myself and Ms. Bell, as well as written by our very happy helpers, Ms. Tuig, Ms. Pacheco, Ms. Perry, and Mr. Helms. All right, we ready to get started right into it on the questions? Ms. Bell, do you want to answer this first one?
I would love to answer this first question.
I knew you would.
And a common question we get is where students list their middle school courses on an application. So this would be, would apply to your student if they took a math course in middle school, like Algebra 1 or maybe Geometry, or if your student took level 1 of a world language, such as Spanish or French. So the format for each of the questions we'll be answering in the presentation and is divided by the CSU application, the UC application, and the Common app. These are the most frequent platforms that our students are using to apply. So the answers that we're providing you may not apply to, let's say, UNR, which has its own application portal through the UNR website. So if you don't see your question answered in this format for use CSU, UC, or Common App, you can ask that in the Q&A at the end. So to answer the question, where do I list my middle school courses? On the CSU application, it's going to go under the high school coursework section, which is confusing, right? Because that doesn't make sense. You took these classes in middle school. But the technicality there is that the classes you took were actually high school level curriculum. So they'll be added on the high school coursework section. You'll enter Amador as the high school attended for 9th grade, and you'll select 7th or 8th grade from the drop-down, and then you'll select the 2017-2018 academic year. So you're listing it as a 7th or 8th grade course, and you're tying it to the 9th grade academic year, and that way it'll link to your application, then your student will get credit for that course on their application.
That's wild.
It kind of makes sense, and it also kind of doesn't make sense. So this is why it's a frequently asked question. And then on the UC application, it's going to be a little bit different because, of course, college applications are never the same. Every platform is different, and there's tons of little tiny intricacies. So on the UC application, it's going to be under the academic history section. You'll mark yes to the question, did you take math or world language in 7th or 8th grade? Then it'll be a drop-down menu for you to select Algebra 1 or Geometry if you took one of those courses in 7th or 8th grade, or both. And then for world language, you will type in Spanish 1A and or Spanish 1B or French 1A, French 1B. Then on the Common App, it's going to be in the other courses section. So it won't be its own separate section for middle school, but it'll apply, it's just listed as a general other course, which is also where you're going to list summer classes. So it's basically any class that doesn't fit within the 9 through 12 kind of traditional year. And then just as a note on our slide, you're only listing world language or math courses on the UC and CSU applications. If you took a science course or a computer science course or something that you're just really excited to take, you will not list that on the application because they only accept math and world language from middle school.
Okay, question 2. How do I send my ACT or SAT scores if I have them? So if you were able to successfully take one of these exams, this also includes your AP exams as well as SAT subject tests. The CSU application, UC application, Common application, it's the same. So you're going to send them all through College Board. That's going to be for your SAT, your SAT, your AP, and your SAT subject test, and then through the ACT website if you took the ACT. And it's across the board. It's the same for everybody. Ms. Bell, do you have anything to add to that one, or is that pretty cut and dry?
I would just add that you might want to take a look for the Common App schools. Take a look at the college's website to see if they are test blind for this year, which means they will not look at your ACT or SAT scores, even if you have them. So if a college that you're applying to is test blind, I would save the money on the fee to submit those test scores to those colleges.
Brilliant.
Okay, how do I send my transcript to colleges? So good news, The CSU and the UC do not require transcripts at the time that you apply. So don't have to send it. Take it off your list. Nothing to worry about. You will send your transcript to the CSU and the UC if you're admitted to one of their campuses and you decide to enroll. So you'll submit your transcript in May after graduation, and you'll do that through Parchment. Parchment is an electronic digital transcript delivery service that we're using. So you'll make your request in May for the CSU and the UC. If you decide to go to one of those schools, that's how you'll request your final transcript be sent to those colleges. On the Common App, you'll need to create an account with Parchment if you haven't already, and then link it with your Common App. You'll make your request in Parchment, and then magically your transcript gets sent from Parchment to Common App, and everybody's happy. We've linked in a video to explain how to link Common App with Parchment, and it's a pretty easy process. So take a look at the video just to make sure you have all the details down.
How do I list my non-PUSD course on my college applications? So this is going to be if you took a course at BYU, Corey Lane, Las Positas. It is a little bit tricky and a little nuanced for each portal. So for the UC, or excuse me, for the CSU application, if you took a course at another high school, so for example, BYU or Corey Lane, you're going to enter that course in as if you attended Corey Lane or BYU, even if it's on your Amador Valley High transcript. So by doing that, you'll have Amador added, but then you're going to also have to add that BYU or Corey Lane school. And then you're going to type in the course name as it's listed on its own transcript. And as you're typing it, it should pre-populate and should identify those courses because of A through G matching. If it's a community college course, it's going to be a very similar process, but you're going to add it under colleges attended. So both the CSU and the UC app are very similar in this, in that you'll add another high school that you attended, you'll add the course, and then same with community college, you'll do it under colleges attended during high school. The Common Application, on the other hand, is a little different and tricky. This language here that's on this presentation is direct from the Common Application website. So it says click on the Add Courses from Another Transcript button. So anything, Corey Lane, BYU, anything that provides a transcript, so any WASC accredited school, you'll have to do this for. And then you're going to add a new set of questions for the current grade year. You can select the other school from the school list for those courses. I know this sounds really tricky, but as you do it, you're going to totally get it and it's going to be fine. You will need to repeat this step for each grade year for which you have courses from additional schools. So if you took a course, let's say maybe you took, I don't know, what's a common one, like AP US, or excuse me, let's say you took AP US history, right, through APEX. You're going to have to do that for your 11th grade year if you took it during the 11th grade year. You can only add courses from another transcript if you have added the high school in the education section of your application. So under that part, you need to add Amador, and then you need to add that APEX or that BYU, etc. If you took a course at community college, for example, Las Positas, you will enter the school under colleges attended and enter the course under additional coursework. It's a little bit more straightforward.
Okay, how many students are in the class of 2021? This is a question that we get often from students who are using Common App. That's a question that they make you answer, which you would think, how am I supposed to know that information? So we've given you the short answer. There are 664 students in the senior class this year. And we've also linked in a document which has a lot of other information that you will need on the Common App, such as is our grading scale weighted or not? Is it a 4-point scale or a 5-point scale? So we've answered all of those questions for you, and you can just input that directly from the document into Common App. The CSU and the UC, you won't need that information, so don't put it in your application.
How do I find my class rank? Short answer, we don't rank at all, no rank. The reason for this, I think several years ago, everybody's rank kept changing in a given year, so it's a little arbitrary. So we no longer rank. For the common application, it's going to ask you what your class rank is, and what you're gonna mark is either NA or my school does not rank. And this information is listed in that same document that Ms. Bell talked about earlier. Not just Common App typically asks for this, like Georgetown, MIT, sometimes coalition schools will also ask that. So just for across the board, NA, my school does not rank. The CSU and UC application, you don't need that information, so yay.
All right, question 7. How do I list non-weighted honors courses? So first, I'm going to take us down to the big box on the bottom of the slide and define what non-weighted courses are. So these are classes that are listed as, entitled as honors, but they are not given an extra grade bump or they're not weighted in the GPA calculation. So they are considered a non-weighted honors course. And the way that you can figure out which classes are weighted and which honors classes are weighted and which ones are not is on your Amador transcript, which we hope you've ordered a copy of through Parchment. We highly recommend that you self-report all of your grades using your Amador transcript right in front of you, not based on memory. So looking at your Amador transcript, you will see the course title, and after the course title, in parentheses, if it says P, then that means it is a non-weighted honors class. An example of that is Honors World History. That is not a weighted honors course. The weighted honors courses, like AP classes, will say HP in parentheses after the course title, and those are weighted, and those are considered honors, like honors on the application. So example of that type of class is Honors Pre-Calculus. So the way you're going to indicate these classes on the applications is for the non-weighted Honors World History, for example, courses on the CSU application, under course type, you'll mark none. It's still a college prep class and honors is still in the title, but it's not weighted in the GPA calculation. So you'll select none from the dropdown. On the UC application, it's listed as honor type as the category, and you'll select none. On the common application, the common app, so funny calling it the common application, you'll list honors courses as honors level because private colleges and out-of-state colleges may weight honors classes that the UC and the CSU don't.
Okay, question 8, where do I list my PE courses for my form or on my college applications? Great question. For the UC and CSU application, because PE is not considered a college preparatory course, you will not list it. So you will not list any courses that are not considered college prep. So, and another example of this is a TA period. If you decided to be a TA, if you were an avid tutor, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but these are courses, they're not considered college prep, so you don't have to list them. For the common application, you will list PE. As it's listed on your transcript. Some colleges will calculate your PE course into your GPA as well as other non-college prep courses. So for the common application, you're going to give it everything you've got. So whatever's on your transcript, you're going to list it.
Okay, activities. How should I order my activities in the activities section? On the CSU application, there is no activities section, except there kind of is one for Cal Poly. What we use as guidance for the UC, I would suggest using for the Cal Poly application. For the UC, you would list your activities in the order of importance to you and in reverse chronological order. So your senior year, you were the president of the robotics club. Then you would, and that was really important to you, and you also want to major in engineering, for example, then that's the first activity on your list that you would include. And then from there, you're kind of ranking them for the college admissions officer who's reading it. So you want to make sure that you're listing your most meaningful and most recent activities at the top, because these college admissions officers are reading thousands, hundreds of thousands of applications every application cycle. So you want to make sure the most important step is right at the top. On Common App, it's the same guidance, same kind of logic applies. The readers of your application want to know right off the bat what's the most important and meaningful to you.
Okay. All right, question 10. When should I submit my transcripts, listen to me, and test scores to colleges? So for the UC application, the when for the transcripts, we actually already went over. You're not going to submit that until after you've been accepted. You've accepted their offer. You guys are in a mutually agree upon place, and you will do that through Parchment. Very rarely they will ask for a mid-year report or an initial transcript, but they will seek you out. They will be like, dear Miss Bell, we want your transcript because we're not sure if we entirely believe your self-reported grades or something. It's not going to be anything sinister, but if they want it, they'll ask you. For your test scores, submit them now. If you have successfully done your ACT and SAT and all the stuff, you're able to take it, you can go ahead and submit those now through the College Board website or ACT website. Same goes for the UC application. It is rare that they will ask for a mid-year report or an initial transcript, so this will just have your junior year grades. Once you've accepted their admission and they're like, great, and you know, all the hearts are going in both directions, then you can go ahead and submit your transcript to that UC using Parchment. And then same with the test scores. You can submit them through College Board and ACT website now, and then you're only going to want to submit them to schools who are test optional. Although I think the UC shares scores, right? Is that right, Ms. Bell, if I remember correctly? So like if you're applying to a school that's test optional and a school that's test blind, you'll submit it to the test optional, but it'll share it to all the other test optional schools. The test blind schools will ignore it. Do I have that right?
Yeah, and we're talking about within the UC system.
We're talking about within the UC, yeah, sorry. There's just so much new with COVID, I have to remember. Okay, and then Common Application. Each college has their own set deadline. So for a lot of you who are doing early action, early decision, that deadline will look like October 15th, so day after tomorrow, or November 1st, and sometimes December 1st. If you're doing regular decision, we're looking at January. Rolling admissions, that's gonna vary. So you need to check with each college to see when their deadline is. Some schools will require an initial transcript, so that's your current transcript as is with your final junior year grades. A mid-year report, that's gonna be after your first semester of your senior year, and or a final transcript. Check with each college to see what they want, when they want it. And then that's how you will submit your transcripts through Parchment, or when you know when to do it. And then for test scores, you may submit those now through College Board or the ACT website if you have them. And again, as Ms. Bell said, make sure you check to see who's test blind and who's test optional to ensure that you're not sending test scores to somewhere that's not even going to use them.
Okay, this is a fun one. How is my GPA calculated? So there's a lot of nuance in this question. So we'll start with the CSU. And most of what I'm about to say applies to the UC as well. I will point out what does not apply to the UC, but for the CSU and the UC, they will be calculating your GPA based on letter grades in college prep courses that you completed in 10th and 11th grade. So it is intended to be a GPA snapshot of your middle years in high school. So the 9th grade year is sometimes a tough transition for students. And then the 12th grade year, we don't have grades for at the time of the application, so you're not including those. Those can't be included in your GPA calculation. So what we're really looking at is 10th and 11th grade. If you took a summer course after 9th grade or after 11th grade, those grades will be counted and calculated in the GPA. If you repeated a course on the CSU application, you will enter the higher grade, not the original grade. So if you earned a D or an F in a course and went to summer school, you do not have to report the D or F on the CSU application only. You'll report the higher repeated grade, and that is the grade they will use in your GPA calculation. For the UC, this is the difference between the two. If you repeated a course, you'll enter the original grade and the repeat grade, and the UC will use the higher grade in the GPA calculation, but the UC wants to see the original grade and the new grade to have a complete, full educational record on the application. The pluses and minuses that are in on your transcript. So if you got an A+ in global studies, that's awesome, but the pluses and minuses will not be factored into your GPA calculation. You'll still list the pluses and minuses when you're self-reporting grades for CSU and UC, but those will not be factored in. You know, the variable between an A+ through A or A-. On the Common App, it varies. So private schools and out-of-state schools will take your transcript and they will calculate it according to whatever policy they have in place. Some private and out-of-state schools calculate, include PE in the calculation, some don't. Some will include TA periods, some won't. So it really just depends. You can check the college admissions website to see how they will be recalculating your GPA. A common one is that they unweight it. So the GPA that you're reporting on your application may not be the GPA that they are going to use. So that is why on the Common App, it's very important that you enter all courses and grades so that they, the colleges can calculate it to meet their policy.
All right, do I include those pluses and minuses when reporting grades? Absolutely. Across the board, yes, you will report all pluses and minuses. So as Ms. Bell said, for the UC and CSU applications, those pluses and minuses will not mean anything and they will not impact your GPA in high school courses. Now, if you took a community college course and they use pluses and minuses, it will factor in. So that's the only nuance. I do know that most students who attend a community college course attend Las Positas, or who take community college courses attend Las Positas, and they actually don't have pluses and minuses. So it's not something that a lot of you will have to worry about. But just so you know, pluses and minuses, a B- is going to be the same as a B or a B+. For the Common Application, yes, you will report the pluses and minuses reported on your transcript, and they may impact your overall GPA. It just depends on the institution. So a B- will not be the same as a B+. Now the difference is something with a minus. So let's say an A-, it is not a 4.0, it is a 3.7. And then your A or A+ will actually be a 4.0. And then for a B+, you're looking at a 3.3. And then for a B-, you're looking at a 2.7, and a straight B is going to be a 3.0. And again, this just depends on each college and how they decide they want to recalculate or calculate your GPA. And they do it based on an internal policy that sometimes they share with us and sometimes they don't. It really just depends on the college.
Okay, where can I find answers to other application questions? So we've gone through the questions that we typically get, but if you have a more specific question or just one that we didn't answer, we've provided a link to the CSU application guide. And if you click into it, it'll show you screenshots of exactly what the application looks like so that you can make sure you're doing it right in real time. Same for the UC, they have a very helpful guide with screenshots as well. And then the Common App has what is called a Solution Center, and it's a searchable website that you can type in college courses, and then it'll give you the answers to how to enter it, how the GPA is calculated, those types of things. All three of these resources are really, really helpful. Full disclosure, Ms. Z and I, when we were making this presentation, we were in each of these links, making sure we had the details right. So we use them, and we encourage you to, because it's complicated. This is a very tricky process, and we've been counselors for several years. It's hard for us to remember all of this, and you're doing your college applications for the first time, so know that there's support and resources out there for you.
We want to acknowledge it's extra tricky this year too because of COVID. So we appreciate your patience with us in trying to get you the most accurate information, because I feel like I'm learning this a lot for the first time due to the shelter in place and all that. So I appreciate your guys' patience. But please know that there are a lot of resources out there, and we're using them probably about as much as you guys are. So no shame in research, yeah. Okay, so thank you. Now we're gonna get to the good part. Let's see. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and I'm gonna check out. So I'm gonna read the first question that was submitted. So where would I list my school courses on the coalition application? So
The middle school courses.
The middle school courses, yes, I'm sorry. So for that one, off the top of my head for this year, I haven't actually looked, but I'm gonna guess that it's very similar to how you would list them on your common application. So you're going to probably put it in the other course or the other courses taken section. But if there is a place for you to be able to add middle school courses, the application will indicate that for you. But I don't know, Ms. Bell, have you worked on the coalition application yet this year?
I haven't. And I would suggest if you haven't gotten too far along on the coalition application and the college you're applying to allows you to use Common App, I would suggest that you switch over to that platform. Coalition can be a little tricky. It's a little more complicated, but we understand, like, I think it's the University of Washington only accepts applications through Coalition. So.
Right. Well, through the simple Google search, thank God, if you took classes that count toward your high school graduation requirements before you were in 9th grade, for example, a high school required math course in middle school, so this would be something like Algebra 1, you are actually going to go ahead and enter it as a 9th grade course. At the bottom of the page, you're going to select 9th grade or earlier for when you took a course. So you'll be able to add that. Now, you didn't necessarily earn high school credit for those courses. However, you will want to report them as if you did, just so they're aware that you took an Algebra 1 course or any like world language course. Those are the most critical to report because those typically are high school level courses. All right. Next question. I'm getting an error when linking my Parchment account to the Common App. Parchment says they're having issues looking at my Common App ID. What should I do? This one, I would actually like you to reach out to your counselor specifically about that, and we can support you through that. Or you can reach out to either Common App or Parchment to get some live help. But for that one, for that specific question, we'll probably have to do that offline.
We skipped over one question. For the CSU application, how do we enter in Spanish 1A, 1B, and other two-part classes that do not autofill? So you should be able to type those in. Spanish 1A and 1B won't come up as a pre-populated option because, excuse me, because Spanish 1A and 1B are the middle school titles of the courses, which aren't in the high school directory that the CSU uses to populate the drop-down menu. So you should be able to type those in manually.
Do you want to do the next one?
Sure. The question is, shouldn't the student still submit the SAT, ACT scores to the test blind school since it will be used for class placement and scholarship consideration? That's a really, really good question. So the test blind term means that the colleges will not be using those scores to as a factor in whether you're admitted or not. The courses that you are placed in at the college level could very well be based on the SAT and ACT score. So usually that's English and math. Colleges might look at your scores on the SAT or ACT to then determine if you're in the standard freshman college English class or the one above that or below that. So that would be something that you would want to send in after you're admitted and have decided to enroll at that school. So like Ms. C said, you're in the mutual agreement phase, you both like each other, and then you would want to submit that. For the scholarship consideration, that's a very good question. There are scholarships that students, merit-based scholarships that students would be considered for at each institution. So I would recommend looking at the scholarship information that the college offers. If you can find it on their website for merit-based scholarships, to see if the SAT or ACT is still a requirement this year to be considered for a scholarship. Because of the difficulties of students being able to test in the spring and then this school year, my guess is most scholarships will not require the SAT or ACT for consideration.
All right, for the common application, should I click yes or click the yes or the no option for the I am able to obtain a copy of my transcript? If I click yes, do I self-report my school grades? You click yes. As far as self-reporting, no, you don't have to. I would advise doing it just in case, but you won't have to. But yes, click yes, because you are able to obtain a copy of your transcript through Parchment. Let's see. How will I get access to links inside this presentation? Great question. So we're actually gonna post this twice. We're gonna post this recording so you get to see me and Miss Bell's face all over again, or if you are one of the unlucky people unable to log in right now, you're able to watch this live. And then I'll also post the presentation version of this webinar, I guess, where you'll be able to access the links directly. Also, all those links are actually live on our website too. So there's a lot of places to get them. How will waiving PE through sports work in the current situation? That's not a college application question. It's okay. We don't know yet. We're still waiting for some guidance from the district office and actually probably from California Department of Education on how exactly to do that due to the current situation we're in. So your patience is sincerely appreciated. We want those answers as well, but we have to be patient with that. So I apologize that we don't have an answer for that yet. Do I need to submit senior year?
On the PE waiver, just don't worry, don't stress. Your graduation will not hinge on the current situation with COVID and you not being able to participate in your sport. The district and Amador will figure a solution out, so don't stress about it, but hang tight for more info.
Yeah, worst case, we'll just come to your house and chase you around and that'll count as PE. Maybe, we'll chase you with an actual PE waiver, just kidding. Okay, do I need to submit senior year Q1 grades for early decision, early action? That's a great question. It just depends on your college and depends on that first initial application. So typically you'll submit your application, and that will have, you know, your letters of rec from your teachers, your initial transcript, all that good stuff. And it might bounce back or they'll send you an email saying that they want a snapshot of your quarter grades. And they'll let you know and you'll let us know. Typically they'll let us know as well. So it really just depends on the school and what you submit. Because sometimes they do want to see like just a snapshot of how you're doing right this second. That's a good question. Let's see. Is there a link to the slides? Yes, there will be. Nope, let's see. Hang on. No, you can't have a treat. Okay, which GPA should I self-report on the common application in UC? So those are actually two totally different GPAs that you'll be reporting. So it's a really good question. For the common application, you are going to submit the one that's actually on your transcript, your Amador Valley transcript. If you don't know how to get your Amador Valley transcript, we didn't tell you that, but you're going to do it through Parchment. You can just click a button, say, I want to use it for myself. So you'll use that to report your grades, you know, not for memory, like Ms. Bell said. And then for the UC GPA, you will not use that one that's on your Amador Valley transcript. And actually, I believe both the UC and the CSU do calculate it for you. But if you're curious as to what it is, I'd like you to Google Csu Gpa Calculator. And the first thing that's going to show up on Google is the CSU eligibility index. There is no eligibility index this year, regretfully, so we can't really tell you exactly what CSUs you can get into. But if you click that, the GPA calculator is hidden, but you click it like within like the page. It's about like, I don't know, 4 inches down if you're on a laptop. And what's going to drop down is a little box that has, you're going to input the number of A's, the number of B's, C's, D's, and F's. If you don't have any A's, B's, or C's, you have to put a 0 there. And then it's going to ask you to count the number of semester honors courses you have. And it only counts up to 8. So this is where your transcript comes in handy. You're only going to input your sophomore and junior year grades. You're going to follow directions on the website. So for your sophomore, junior year, if you took 2 year-long AP courses, that equates to 4 semesters of weighted courses. So you'll enter that in, and then you'll hit calculate, and bam, that's what it is. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is actually my favorite GPA calculator for most things, so please use it. Ms. Bell, do you have anything to add?
Just that we use it all the time too.
All the
time. You can recall it from memory, and I know exactly which part of the website she's talking about as well.
So yeah, I don't know if I can be any clearer. Let's see, we're getting a lot of questions about links to the slides. Yes, that'll all be posted, of course.
Okay, well, just to clarify where they'll be posted, it'll be on the counseling website, which you can get to from the Amador main home website. You'll click students at the top, then counseling, and then we have yellow buttons on our website that will take you to a Google Drive folder where you can access a lot of the presentations that we've presented this year. So it'll be posted there, and those slides will have the live links that you can click into.
And if you like Space Cats, it'll be under the college advising section or the post-high school planning section, and then you can see all the links, but with Space Cats also. So hope you like Space Cats. If you have several colleges on your Common App, but you have only finished the application for one, can you submit the application for the college only without submitting the rest? That's a yes. I believe that's a yes. I need validation here.
Yes, that's a yes.
Yes.
The Common App is it's common to all of the colleges that you're applying to, but as you've probably noticed, the colleges have different requirements and so require and look at different parts of the application that you're going to hit submit on. So if it's ready to go and it meets all the requirements for that particular college, by all means hit submit. And just a quick note for the Common App users, your portion of the application is separate from your teachers who are writing a recommendation for you or for your counselor who's submitting an evaluation. So you don't need to hit submit, wait for us. You don't need to wait for us, your recommenders, to submit our portion before you submit yours. So if you're all good on your pieces of the application, hit send.
Yeah, I know you're on pins and needles, some of you with your October 15th deadlines. Don't worry, we'll get it in by the October 15th deadline, and you don't need to wait for us to do it. We will do it, I promise. No stress. Okay, what is the minimum GPA to apply to a CSU or UC? So that's a great question. So the minimum for the CSU used to be a 2.0, but due to COVID and because they're unable to use your SAT and ACT scores, which was a huge part of the application, basically 50% of it, they've actually upped the GPA to 2.5. So it's a 2.5 minimum. Now, don't be afraid. There are actually some caveats that will allow you to be accepted if you don't meet that threshold, but just make sure that when you do apply, that you are checking your portals regularly and seeing if they're asking for anything additional from you. But right now the threshold is about 2.5, but it does sound like there is a tiny bit of wiggle room. For the UC, the minimum is a 3.0. And I know the stats that we send out every year, that we post every year, you know, none of them are really in the 3.0 range. And I know that's really scary and nerve-wracking. So typically, yes, the admitted applicants are higher than the 3.0, but that's just the minimum. Okay, so as long as you have a 3.0, you are eligible and you can apply to the UCs.
Are all of the non-honors AP classes at Amador considered college prep when we're listing them on the Common App? Yes, except for PE and TA period and a couple of other courses that are not college prep. So almost every course at Amador is college prep or AP. So you'll list it as college prep.
Yes. Your transcript too will be it'll be pretty clear what is college prep and what's honors or what's honors weighted. The ones that are not will not have the P or HP in parentheses. So that's an easy way to figure that out. That's a good question. On Coalition, do we say Amador uses a block schedule? We use a modified block schedule. So, gosh, now I'm thinking I would say yes, especially right now because this school year we're using, I think, almost exclusively a block schedule. So go ahead and say yes. But we use a modified block system. There's really no wrong answer. You could put no, but go ahead and put yes, because we do have a modified block system. That's a good question. Ooh, I like this question. Is it true that certain UCs are not going test blind? If so, which ones? That is true. Some of them are test optional. We have it listed on our website, which ones are. I have the columns in my head. I just don't know what schools are in each column. I could look it up unless Ms. Bell, you have it
up right now. Yeah.
Okay, we can tell you.
Yes. Okay. Why don't we come back to that one?
Okay, we will get that information to you, but it is currently on our website. If you go to the college, if you look at the college night for seniors, the slide deck, it'll be embedded there. You could also just rewatch the webinar and you could see Ms. Tuig and Ms. Pacheco also. But either way, that information is there, but we'll get that to you at the end. Okay, on Common App, about how many colleges actually look at A- versus A+, B- versus B+. Is it just a small portion of schools, or do most schools take into account pluses and minuses? This is not a question I can answer. There are over 900 schools that use the Common Application. And our population of school or our students doesn't apply to all 900. So we just can't definitively answer if it's a small portion or a large portion, but what we can verify is that some do it and some don't. So if you are very curious about a specific school, my advice would be to contact a college admissions rep specifically for our area, for Amador, and they can provide that information to you if they release that information, okay? So I'm sorry we can't answer that in kind of in a black or white way. Okay.
I pulled up the test blind, test optional info.
All right.
For the UC. So the following campuses are test optional: Davis, Merced, Riverside, San Diego, and UCLA. The test blind campuses are Berkeley, Irvine, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz.
Say it one more time.
Test optional: Davis, Merced, Riverside, San Diego, and UCLA. Test blind, Berkeley, Irvine, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. And you can also find that info on each campus website as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if we're linking our transcript to the Common App, do we hit hold for grades or just send now? That's a great question. If it's hold, if you will have to decide. So if, for example, you're waiting for a teacher maybe from junior year that was supposed to, maybe you percentage-wise earned a B+ or something, and maybe you submitted an extra assignment and it's actually an A-, but on your transcript it's a B+ and they agreed to a grade change. You can submit hold for grades, waiting for them to submit the course or the grade change. If you don't have any parameters like that, you can go ahead and send now. Or if your college doesn't want an initial transcript, but you want to maybe start the process, maybe they want a mid-year report, you can go ahead and say hold for grades. And then once your mid-year grades are out, so your semester 1 grades, you can go back to Parchment and go ahead and release your transcript. But yes, it's all dependent on you and your college and what they want. So just make sure you're mindful of what they're asking for, and that your transcript as it is on Parchment is what you want them to see.
Mm-hmm. Most of you will be able to hit send now for your applications. You'll know if there's a reason that you need to hold your grades.
Yep. Is the transcript on Csu the same one as on Parchment? Yes, it is. Although it's so much cuter on Parchment. Like the one that you can see in Csu it's kind of a hot mess, let's be honest. It's really hard to read. But the one that we send through Parchment is super cute. It's easy to read. They're gonna love it. So, but yes. All right, can I edit my Common App essay even after submitting the essay to one of my schools?
I don't think
so.
I will say that I don't know for sure. I would encourage you to look at the Common App Solution Center, the link that is at the end of the presentation. But I would say no, because the Common App essay is the thing that's going to be sent to all the schools. So if you're submitting it once, I don't think you'd be able to change it.
I think that's also correct. But we also have our happy little helpers that are probably going to help us with that also. Okay, I believe that some colleges have been asking for mid-year reports. Do I reach out to my counselor specifically for these colleges? Or do I go by the counselor evaluation form that lists colleges that I'm applying to? So that's a good question. Transcripts have actually been kind of moved from our responsibility to yours. So with Parchment, so with the integration of Parchment. So if you do need a mid-year report, you're actually going to go into Parchment and order it to the colleges that are requesting one. So we're kind of taken out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Is it possible if you put the link in the chat? I'm not sure if you're talking about this presentation. Maybe.
I have at it. It's
okay. Thank you, Ms. Bell.
I'm linking in the
to the UC thing. Got it.
It's
a two-parter. Okay. So I'll get you the UC thing up in the chat. No problem. Amador Transcript has semester grades listed. What do we list for the final grade for the course? Common App. Nothing. Nada. We don't have a final grade. So some schools, I believe in like Louisiana, they have a semester grade, semester 1, semester 2, and then they have this like crazy final grade. We don't have that, but that feature is to accommodate schools that do that. Right, Ms. Bell? You know all about Louisiana.
I do, yeah, and I grew up in Louisiana. That's why she used that as an example. They do the weird final grade thing, but you'll list your semester grades and you'll input on your college apps that were on the semester system. So the application will know that you don't have a final grade.
Right. Okay. Oh man, questions are coming in. All right. For students applying early decision or ED, Do they have to send an ED confirmation contract to their counselors in order for counselors to complete the ED agreement? That's a good question. We do need to have some sort of conversation, verbal over email, agreement talk about the ED agreement and the implications of that. So some of it just depends on your counselor. Some of us like to do it over email and then we include your parents. Some of us send like the statement directly from Common App and, you know, just let me know you agreed to this and that you've had a discussion as a family that if you get into the school, you're going and you're going to pay and it's going to be great. Everybody's happy. Once we get confirmation, whether it's verbal or over email, we'll go ahead and click the ED agreement that we've chatted with you. So no problem there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's see. Do I say no for, do you have 12th grade courses listed on your transcript that have been issued official transcript grades? Yes, you will say no. The answer is no. No, no, no. We don't have any 12th grade grades yet. Not until December or something, maybe January. But yeah, so the answer is no. We do list your current courses on your transcript, but they don't have a grade because you haven't earned them yet. We're only a quarter in, you guys. Is it too late to ask for letters of rec from counselors and teachers? It's a great question. Your counselors require a 2-week notice of your earliest deadline. So if your earliest deadline is November 1st, let's check our calendars. I believe you're still within the window. I think you have about 3 or 4 days, right, left for that, to make that November 1st deadline to ask your counselors for a letter of recommendation or a counselor evaluation. For your teachers, most have a 2-week deadline as well. But it will depend on each individual teachers, but the sooner the better. But 2 weeks is a good rule of thumb.
And a really quick note on any January deadlines. Because of winter break, that's 2 weeks that counselors are not working. So if you have a January 1st deadline, you need to request early December. I can't remember if it's December 2nd or December 4th.
I think it's December 2nd.
December 2nd. Okay, so yeah, we need 2 weeks before winter break to write your letter before we go off for break, and because we won't be writing letters that are due for January 1st over the winter break. So December 2nd, ask your counselor for a rec if you have a January 1st deadline.
Yeah. We don't work during winter break, as should you not. No one should be working during winter break. You need a break. We all need a break. Everybody needs a break. When we link Parchment to Common App, does the transcript only send after we submit the individual school application, or does it automatically send to all the schools on our list? That's a great question. I believe it sends within 2 business days of you requesting it. So they might get your transcript before your application.
Well, and we also, it's kind of complicated. Parchment puts your transcript into the school report on Common App. And that is one of the materials that your counselor will submit for you. So Parchment will put your transcript into Common App 2 days after you make the request, and then we will send your school report separately when we hit send on Common App and on our end. And then once the school report is available in Common App, any college that you apply to can download that school report and look at it.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud. Mm-hmm.
If it's a non-Common App school, typically they'll get it within 2 days. So, and if it's a school not accepting them, they'll just throw it away. So don't do it. If I'm taking a B period at Foothill, will it show up on my Amador transcript? Yes, if it is like actually in your schedule, but yes. Let's see. Can I apply to multiple ED schools at a time? If so, can I withdraw from other ED application if accepted to, or if one is accepted to me? That's a good practice. So pick one. Pick one ED school.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just that's a pretty black and white question. So no, only apply to one. Oh, they keep moving.
How important are quarter one grades? What should you do if they aren't as good as the rest of your transcript? That's a good question. So not all colleges require the quarter one grades. So that's a good thing because you have a whole nother quarter to improve your grade and get the semester grade up to where you would like it to be. And the semester grade is what's listed on your transcript. If a college has already, if you've already applied and the college is then asking for your quarter one grades between now and the end of the semester, we can submit your quarter one grades for you, but the quarter one grades are, you know, the colleges are aware that it's a snapshot. The semester grade is what they will really care about. Of course, if they ask for quarter one grades and things are like really, really not looking good, like you're failing all your classes, that would definitely make an admissions officer kind of go like, huh, like what's going on? But again, it's one piece of your application. It's not going to, in most cases, make or break your application. But to answer your question, it's kind of important, but it's not the end all be all.
Well, and oftentimes too, I hear from students that their quarter one grades aren't actually indicative of their actual grade because they turned an assignment, it was on time, but it just wasn't graded. It wasn't in the grade book. So, and that's okay. That's actually something you can work out with your teacher. So let's say you've been getting, I don't know, an A all semester or all quarter, and you know, a big project was due and it just happened to not make it into the grade book, and all of a sudden your grade tanked at quarter. If a college is requesting your quarter grades, you can ask your teacher to like, hey, can you do me a solid, you know, make sure that goes in the grade book, and that actually will kind of retroactive like your quarter grade, and it'll change it and it'll be more reflective. So if you are in that situation, you can talk to your teachers about that. But in terms of importance, not so much. Like you'll be okay. There are dozens of other factors that they're looking at. Do we put high honors for courses like honors pre-calc that are weighted on Common App? No, you'll just put honors because it's just an honors course. Let's see. If we are required, if we are required a counselor evaluation for a November deadline, but we also need it for a January deadline, when we invite our counselor as a recommender, is it the same 2-week notice? You actually only have to invite us the one time. So that's why you have to ask us by your earliest deadline, 2 weeks before your earliest deadline. So if you have a November deadline and a January deadline, you need to get it to us, that request, by mid-November, or not mid-November, mid-October. So soon, if you haven't done it already. But you don't have to ask us twice, because the same counselor evaluation actually just goes to all the same schools, or different schools, sorry.
Okay, next question. Do we need a counselor recommendation in order to apply on Common App? No. Not every college that is on the Common App platform requires a counselor evaluation. And when you put your colleges into Common App, it will show you which pieces of the application are required. So if a counselor recommendation is required, it'll say that. If it's not, then it'll say not required. So only ask us pretty please if your college requires the evaluation, because we are writing a lot of evaluations at this time.
Remind me how many seniors are in the class of 2021?
664.
Just to give you an idea of how many we're writing. Also, if you're not sure how to find that information, we made a nifty video that's on our website that will direct you on how to find if your schools require or school requires a counselor evaluation, and then how to request it. For counselor evaluation questions, the first question asks for which colleges you are applying to, and if I'm doing early decision applications, do I put those schools only, or do I include the schools I will apply to in regular as well? I prefer students list all of them. I like to have an idea of where you're going when I'm writing your letter, and ED doesn't really, it doesn't give me a full snapshot of where you're applying. If you're doing regular decision also, like in a few months, I don't want to forget that you're applying regular decision. I don't want to just focus on your ED and EA schools. So you'll want to list all of them. But don't apply to too many schools, you guys.
And just to clarify, this question is in reference to the survey on Naviance that we ask students to complete so that we can write your evaluation. So the first question in that survey, I think there's about 10 questions, is tell us where you're applying and your deadlines and why you're applying. So if just to let you know, that's in Naviance. It's not on an application. That question is not on an application platform.
And when you do complete that, don't feel like you have to do paragraph essays. Like bullet points are fine. List is fine. That's totally fine. Like the easier for me to read it, the better.
Spend your time writing your college essays.
And your supplemental essays. Write those. All right. The transcript we can download on Csu Connect is formatted differently than the transcript on Parchment. Which transcript format will colleges be sent? The cute one, not the Q one. It'll be the beautiful, easy to read one, not the horrible one on Q. So don't stress. We'll send them something cute. We'll make you look good. No worries. Is our weighted GPA still on a 4.0 scale? Yes, we use a 4.0 scale. Are the letters of rec specific to each college, or do you just write one per person for all their colleges? That's a good question. So we can't write them individually for each college. It's just, one, it's not possible because some of y'all be applying to like 30 schools. We do write one, and just your counselor evaluation is different from your teacher evaluations or your teacher's letters of rec. We talk a lot more about your character and our interactions with you, kind of more who you are as a person and whole student. We try to fill in, like you're a puzzle piece, we're just a piece of that puzzle, and we talk more about the character and like who you are. Like your teachers are gonna talk about who you are as a student and specific things to their classroom and how they saw you in their classroom. But for us, it's really more about our interactions with you. And don't stress if you don't have any with us. We find ways to say nice things about you too if we haven't had that many interactions with you, things over email. So no stress. And plus, that's why that Naviance survey is really important for you to complete, okay? Is linking Parchment to Common App the same thing as sending a mid-year report? No, it's not. The linking Parchment to Common App is just so they get married. We want them to be married and we want them talking to each other. Now, a mid-year report is going to be the transcript that you send after your first semester of your senior year. If your college requires a transcript prior to that, that's why that Parchment and Common App is like a separate entity. You'll have to do that now, and you'll have to submit your transcript now if it's ready. But the mid-year report is just a second step to that if they're requesting a mid-year report or your first semester grades. That's a good question. The coalition application, good night. The coalition application doesn't have a space for adding official documents to individual schools. Do the required documents automatically go to whichever schools require them? Adding official documents to individual schools.
So coalition.
I'm thinking of how I get documents requested from me of Coalition.
I have not logged into Coalition this year to see if the platform's been updated from past years, but Coalition has what's called a document locker, and that is where you request the official documents like a transcript or a recommendation, and then it's put into this central part of the Coalition app, and you tell it which colleges it sends to. You can still request your transcript for Coalition schools through Parchment, and we will send it that way. There's not a way to link Coalition with Parchment, so you may still have to use that document locker function on the Coalition application.
You will, though, for parchment. So a coalition school will still accept documents via parchment.
Mm-hmm.
So when you submit documents, there's a tiny little checkbox. You check it and it says sending documents another way. And then you go to parchment. You don't have to link any accounts. You just have to indicate the school. So a school that's coalition exclusive, I think University of Washington.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they want a transcript, to be honest, but let's pretend they did. You'll click that little checkbox saying I'm sending my documents another way, and then you'll go on to parchment and you'll type in University of Washington versus Common App, right? If you've watched the video or if you've linked your account. So you're actually going to just do the school rather than typing in coalition. That's a good question. It's a hard question.
Yeah.
You got us. Do I need to send SAT, ACT score report to all UC campuses I applied to, or just the one campus and they will share internally? UC shares. CSU does not, unless you have the code, but they can't use it anyway. But yes, they will share. How do I add counselors to the coalition app for letters of rec? If your college wants a letter of rec, there's actually an option for it. So it's pretty, like if you're not seeing an option to add a counselor rec, then they don't need one. But it's like request a counselor rec, and you just type in Ms. Bell, no matter who your actual counselor is. No, I'm just kidding. You'll type in your counselor's name, but it's you'll be able to see which colleges actually want it.
And you'll put in our email address. We get a notification that you need us to send something through Coalition. So if you're concerned that you've added your counselor and you just want to confirm that your counselor received the notification, you can email us and we will let you know.
Yep. We'll also probably reply back though with like, did you do your Naviance questions? Because we actually don't get like a notification that you've done them. So if you have done your Naviance questions, your counselor evaluations, if you could just shoot us an email, let us know that you've done them, then we can get started on your counselor rec. Is the level of multivariable calculus college prep? Yes, if you're taking it at Amador Valley High School. If you're taking it Las Positas, you're actually just listing it as a Las Positas course. But yes, it is a college prep class. It carries no weight unless you take it at Las Positas. Do you have to link parchment to mid-year before submitting our application? Do you have to link parchment to mid-year? Not necessarily. You can go ahead and complete your application, do your things, and then next step you can link them. I don't know, there's no, I mean, if your college requires a transcript, you'll want to, like right now, like an initial one, you'll want to do that sooner rather than later. If they don't want one until your mid-year, you don't have to link it until then. So you can wait.
Think about it as two separate requests. So if your college needs a transcript at the time that you apply, so right now, during the fall semester, whenever your deadline is, then you're applying through Common App, you'll link parchment to Common App and you'll make your request for your transcript now. And then if your college does need a mid-year transcript, you'll go back into parchment and request that we send a mid-year transcript. And that'll happen in January when we have your first semester grades. Just to do a really quick time check at 7:45, we have about 15 more minutes allotted. So if you have questions now, it's a good time to put them into the Q&A.
Let's see. For Common App, some of my colleges require the personal essay and some don't. If I complete my application for a school that doesn't require one and submit my application for that college, will I still be able to add my personal essay for other colleges? Yes, you should be able to, unless somebody wants to fact check me. We're my fact checkers. We'll come back to that one though, but I'm pretty sure yes, you will be. Okay. Let's see, is the counselor ED contract due on 10/14? If so, do we need to do anything other than signing the ED contract on Common App? Depends. If you have an October 15th deadline, it's due October 15th or 14th. Just email your counselor, just remind them to do it, or to, send you the blurb. But don't worry, what's today, the 13th or 14th? If you have an October 15th deadline, I can verify that if your counselor hasn't done it, they will be working on it tomorrow. So no stress. Okay, if I'm taking an ACT, SAT after the deadline, should I say that on my apps? Yes. How will colleges get my score? They will get it when it's scored, right? So you're gonna take it. I think, how long does it take to get your report back? I think it takes a couple weeks or a month.
Couple weeks, yeah.
It might take, go ahead. Well, I was gonna say it might take longer due to COVID and everything is like crazy busy. But once your score is live, then you can go ahead, you can go onto the website and you can have those submitted. And then colleges will be expecting them.
Yeah, and just again, check your college, the colleges that you're applying to see if they are test blind or test optional. We are really, really discouraging students from going to great lengths to take the SAT or ACT. Most colleges, the vast majority, are not looking at ACT, SATs this application cycle. And while if a college is going to consider the scores, it is not going to make or break your admission into the college. So don't bend over backwards and spend a lot of money and risk your health to take the test. But if you do take it, you'll have to request that the college board or ACT send your scores to the colleges for you.
Okay. Do I need to send an AP score report along with the application or after admission is confirmed? If I need an AP language score to clear the UC language requirement, when should I send it, during the application or after? Great question. In that case, you'll want to send it sooner rather than later. If you are sending AP scores, you could do it to augment your application, but really, if it's just to hopefully gain credit for a college course, you typically don't have to do it until after you've been admitted. That'll actually save you money. But if you're doing it to clear an A through G requirement, so this will be for like language, like a world language or a language other than English, or math, those are typically the ones that you might want to send if you didn't do it through your coursework. So that's a good question. But yes, that's kind of an exception to when you might want to send those AP scores. Is the level for wind ensemble 1 NA? It should be college prep or regular or none. It just depends on the portal. Mm-hmm.
So wind ensemble is a college prep or regular college prep class on any application.
Do the UC and CSU apps require letters of rec? No. Once upon a time, UC San Diego was like, we want letters of rec, or was it Davis? I don't know. Anyway, they got rid of that real quick. So it's going to be a no. No. Do ROPs count as college prep? Heck yes. And some of them are even weighted. So check your transcript to see which ROP courses are weighted, but or college prep. But all of them across the board are actually college prep. I think with the exception of auto tech. Mm-hmm. I think one of those isn't, but one of them is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're pretty much all college prep or weighted honors. Pretty cool, huh?
Check your transcript. If it says the course title and then it says parentheses P, then it's college prep.
Okay. Would test optional colleges that have a November 1st deadline consider scores that are obtained on November 7th, given the current situation? Probably. My guess is probably. I think typically as long as you have a test completed by typically October, but some will accept it as late as December. But given the situation, probably. But if I were you, I would contact the college directly to see if it will be accepted. Otherwise, don't risk your health and your safety to make that test. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm a transfer student and have to report my grades for 9th grade from my previous school. My old school used a semester grading system with no pluses or minuses. However, my Amador transcript only lists the full year grades with no pluses or minuses. How should I report them on Common App or UC? List them exactly as they are in your transcript. So from your previous school, if you have an official copy of that or an unofficial copy, you'll want to refer to that, maybe not the one that's on your Amador transcript in case those were input differently. But if you can obtain an official or unofficial copy of your previous school's transcript, you'll want to report it exactly how it is on that transcript. And then you'll want to report your Amador grades exactly how they are. That's a good question.
Yeah, you may want to work with your counselor and the registrar to review the previous high school's transcript and what's listed on ours. Because if your previous school is on the semester system and you got a grade for each semester, just like at Amador, then we would want that to be reflected on your Amador transcript. So work with your counselor and the registrar to get anything corrected if it's incorrect.
Yes. When the coalition application asks for college credits, is that pertaining to courses taken in community college, or are they asking for AP tests that we pass? Not AP at all. So college courses, community college courses, and AP classes, they are different entities. So I get this question a lot. Like, I took, U.S. history at Las Positas College, so I get AP credit. No, you don't. You actually get college credit. You get college credit without the AP exam. So there are two different entities. If you took an AP course, it's a high school course. It's an advanced placement high school course, and you will list it as such. But you will not list it as a college course because it is not. A good question. I get that question a lot. Do counselors need a resume, brag sheet, along with the Naviance Letters rec? Absolutely not. The Naviance questions are sufficient enough. You don't have to do extra work. Just do the Naviance questions. That is totally fine. Will AP report also be shared in the UC CSU campuses? So we just need to send one report to one of them. Correct. That's correct. So UC shares. So if you pick one, they will share the wealth. So that's
shares as well. There's a code that you can Google for the CSU. I forget what it is, but if you Google CSU all campuses AP scores, you should come up with the code.
Also on our that information sheet that is linked in the presentation.
Right.
Yeah, we linked it twice. So it's that, and if you actually go onto our website under post-high school planning, it's under very, very important senior info. That's that sheet. So that has our class, the number of students in your class, your graduation date, your counselor's emails, as well as those nuanced little codes. So so that's actually really important. If the fact checkers or anybody wants to link that in, that might be helpful. But it will be linked in on this website when we post it too. So it's everywhere, and we get it via Google. So you could Google it too. Are we not allowed to apply to more than one school ED, or is it not recommended? I think it's both, but I have to find my fact checkers. Let's see.
So my understanding of ED, and the fact checkers can correct us if we're not right, but ED is restricted to one college, and if you are deciding to apply early decision to one school, you'll be signing an agreement. And you should read the details of the agreement that you're signing.
So fact checkers are in one ED, one ED. One ED is allowed. So don't.
There have been cases of students in the past who've applied ED and then not, held up their end of the agreement that they signed to, and colleges talk. So if you make a college upset because you pulled out of the ED agreement against the rules, or you applied to more than one, then the colleges might reach out to the other schools that you applied to and say, this person's not honest, maybe you shouldn't accept them.
It's true. And we rub elbows with those college admissions reps when we go to the counselor conferences, and they're all friends. Like UT Austin is friends with, homegirl from, University of Bama. So, and they don't live there. They live in the Bay Area because they're responsible for our district. So it's not like they have several states between them. They all live in the Bay Area because they're responsible for our region. So don't think that they don't talk to each other, because they do, and we've seen it. So I don't want to scare you, but just be honest.
Yeah. Moral of the story on all your college applications, be safe and careful with how you report your courses on your applications, with any agreements that you sign. Your college applications are a big deal. We understand that, and you do too. We don't need to tell you that they're a big, important part of your senior year, and we want you to take them seriously and find maybe some comfort in the fact that there are a lot of great colleges out there, and if you're applying to a good, solid list of schools, you're going to end up somewhere great. So no need to break the rules to try to get in somewhere.
No, not at all. If you have to break the rules to get in somewhere, then it's not meant to be. If you retook a class, do you have to report the lower grade too? That depends. Miss Bell actually talked pretty extensively on that, I think under the GPA calculation. So for the CSU, not necessarily. If you took, it's really complicated.
You can check the slides really quick. The CSU, you do not have to report the lower grade. The UC, you do. And on the Common App, you should list both the original and the repeat grade like you do on the UC.
Hey, okay, this is going to be our last question, so don't ask anymore.
We're also available during Access tomorrow for a similar type Q&A. So if you don't get your question in tonight, don't worry. We will get to you tomorrow. Join us during Access.
Yes. So if you're a parent or guardian, a grown-up, tell your student that we're available tomorrow during Access. There are two separate links, they're based on last name. So please encourage your student to attend that. And then also just email us. I know some of us are slow to respond. We're doing our best. We are swamped and inundated with the emails, but I promise we'll get them answered before everything explodes. But yes, we are. Please don't submit any more questions. I'm tired. Okay. What should you send to teachers when asking them for letters of rec? That's a great question. A resume. There are questions on Naviance that you can answer, but you can't actually submit them. They can't view them like counselors can. So you'd have to screenshot them or copy and paste them into a document and send them that way. But a resume or like a type of brag sheet, all of this you can find like samples of on Naviance, or you can even just ask your counselor like for a template. But usually sending like a resume or something is helpful, but not always required, because if the teacher had you for an entire year in class, they might know you really well. Maybe, you not only were in their class, but you also TA'd for them, or you were part of a club. So you can also just ask them too, like, do you require anything of me? Okay.
All right, our last question. One of my amazing teachers wrote a letter of rec for me, but accidentally made a mistake, said I was secretary of a club instead of VP. There's a discrepancy with my extracurriculars list. Will this significantly hurt my chances? Significantly, no. I would recommend that you reach out to the colleges you're applying to let them know about the discrepancy and that the teacher made it an error in the recommendation, just so you clear up any potential misunderstanding with the college. But no, it will not significantly hurt your chances. This one extracurricular is a very small part of all the factors that the colleges are looking at when they're looking at admission. But do contact the school. And it is exactly 8 o'clock. Thank you all for coming. Miss Z, we want you all to follow us on Instagram.
Yeah. We have to have, like, we already have like way more followers than Fahil, but we need to keep it that way. So if you could go ahead and follow us. But we post some nice mindfulness, self-care, college updates, things like that. It's another way to just get information from us. But please follow us. It's important.
Thanks for coming, and we will post all the links, and we'll see you for access tomorrow if you're a student and you still have questions.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Do you want to debrief?
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Are you guys removing anybody?
Yes. If you're still logged into the meeting, we're going to be kicking you out of the webinar so that we can talk as a counseling department.
We're kicking you out in the nicest way possible.
Yes.
Very gently.
Thank you for coming.
Send coffee in the morning. We prefer Starbucks, not Pete's. These ones just not. Should I promote Terry to panelist?
Yeah, can you?
I can't remove this one.
Me either.
I've tried many times.
It says attendees 0.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll just pretend they're not there.
Yeah. We will ask you all to unmute now.
We will demand that you unmute.
There you go.
Good job, you guys. That was a lot of questions.
Harry, I knew that was you. I just haven't noticed you following us on Instagram yet.